Good morning. I'm Robert Drennan, President of the Board of Directors representing District 3. It's my pleasure to welcome each of you to our 75th annual meeting of the membership of Appalachian Electric Cooperative. I call the meeting to order and declare that the members present represent a quorum. The meeting is now open for business. If you have a cell phone, please turn the cell phone off or put it on mute. So we'll give you a chance to do that. Members and guests, please rise for the presentation of colors by the Jefferson County High School ROTC Guard. Following the posting of colors, please join Matthew Stallings, one of our Washington Youth Tour participants and a senior from Granger High School, in the Pledge of Allegiance. Our invocation will then be delivered by Dustin Wallace, the youth minister from Leadvale Baptist Church. Please remain standing until the color guard exits the hall. I now present the color guard of Jefferson County High School.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Lord God, we thank you for this day, God, and this opportunity we have to come together and to see what this company, what this cooperative program is doing for so many thousands of homes. God, we appreciate the services provided by this great organization, and we appreciate the hard work that is put forth by the staff of this organization and for the just the members here who are present to support this organization that supplies electricity just to many businesses and many residential areas in this area. Well, Lord, we ask also that as there will be a meal, God, that you would bless that meal, and that this organization would be prosperous in the years ahead, and that all that we do would just glorify you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
You may now be seated. At this time, I would like to introduce the AEC Board of Directors, guests, and others participating in the meeting today. Please stand when I call your name. On the stage, we have Directors Dale Fain, who's Vice President of the Board, representing District 8, John Austin, Secretary-Treasurer, representing District 5, Larry Churchwell, Rainwater, Drennan, and Churchwell, our attorney. We will have later Congressman Duncan, who is running a little late, but he's supposedly going to be here, our congressman from Tennessee's 2nd District. We have State Representative Jeremy Faison, Tennessee State House District 11. William D. Johnson, President and Chief Executive Officer, TVA. Jim Collins, Chairman of the Nominating Committee, and Greg Williams, General Manager and Executive Vice President. Thank you. Seated in front are the other directors. Doris Sharp, I'm going to ask them to please stand, District 1. Mark Isom, District 2, they're seated down here. Richard Yates, District 4. Gail Hickman, District 6. Dale Harris, District 7. Mike Hicks, District 9. Thank you. I'd also like to recognize and express our appreciation for having in attendance State Representative Tillman Goins from District 10. Tillman? Apparently has not made it yet, but he has extended his congratulations to the co-op. And State Representative Jerry Sexton from District 35. Is Jerry here? He was here earlier and had to leave. So, Phil Rose, Field Representative, Bill Darden, and Bill was here. I don't know whether he's still around or not. If you are, please stand. From Congressman Rose's office. Earlier provided a congratulatory letter, but I think had to leave. This time, I'd like to call on our Secretary, John Austin, to read the official notice of the 75th Annual Meeting of the Cooperative. John?
Good morning. Notice is hereby given that the 75th Annual Meeting of the members of the Appalachian Electric Co-op will be held at 10:30 a.m. on Saturday, September the 26th, 2015, at the Great Smoky Mountain Expo Center, White Pine, Tennessee, as listed in the proof of mailing certification letter dated September the 21st, 2015. The purpose of this meeting shall be to pass upon the reports of officers, directors, and committees, the election of 3 directors in accordance with existing bylaws. The following named persons have been nominated for directors by the Committee on Nominations. District 1, Doris Sharp. District 2, Mark Isom. District 5, John Austin. All other business which may come before the meeting and any adjournment or adjournments, therefore, in accordance with the bylaws. Submitted, John Austin, Secretary-Treasurer.
Our Secretary, John Austin, is prepared to read the minutes of the 74th Annual Meeting held September the 27th, 2014. However, I would entertain a motion to dispense with the reading of those minutes and approve them as written. Do I have a motion? Name, please. Okay. Do I have a second? Name? Thank you. Motion and second. All in favor, aye. All opposed, no. Motion carried. The Credentials and Election Committee has the responsibility to establish the manner of conducting member registration and voting at the annual meeting. This time, I would like to introduce the members of the committee, thank them for their service, and ask them to stand when called. John Barnhill, they're all seated over here. Clyde Baird. Vernon Coffey. David Holt. James McCorkle. Thank you. The nominating committee prepares and posts at the Cooperative's office a list of nominations for the directors to be elected. We extend our thanks to those members. Please stand when recognized. The members of the nominating committee are James Collins, Jim Bond, here, Helen Harrell, Ray Spradling, James Dean, Nadine Stansberry, Linda Ward, Robert Young, Carolyn Allen. This time, I would thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This time, I'd like to ask the Cooperative Attorney, Larry Churchwell, to conduct the election of directors. Larry?
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning. Pursuant to Section 4.6 of the bylaws of the Cooperative, the Board of Directors has previously appointed a committee on nominations to nominate a candidate for Director Districts 1, 2, and 5. I now recognize the President of the Committee on Nominations, Jim Collins, and ask him to report from that committee.
Good morning. Any of my students out there? Nominating committee met July the 15th, 2015. We, the undersigned, who are appointed by the Board of Directors of the Appalachian Electric Cooperative pursuant to Article 4, Section 4.6 of the Cooperative Bylaws, as a committee to nominate members to be voted on as directors of the cooperative at the annual meeting on Saturday, September the 26th, 2015, for Districts 1, 2, and 5 for ensuing 3 years until the successors have been elected and qualified. I do hereby nominate the following members to be voted on as directors of such districts. District 1, Doris Sharp. District 2, Mark Isom. District 5, John Austin. Respectfully submitted, Linda Ward, Helen Harrell, James Dean, Carolyn Allen, Jim Bond, James Collins, Ray Spradlin, and Robert Young.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Mr. Secretary, I request that the report on nominations be identified and further request that the report be annexed into the minutes of this meeting. Section 4.6 of the bylaws also allows nominations by petition. No nominations by petition were submitted. Being no further comments or questions, I would entertain a motion that each of the nominated candidates be elected by acclamation. Would the member please identify yourself for the minutes? Could you repeat that, please? Bill Potter. Thank you. Do I hear a second to the motion? Would you please identify yourself for the minutes, ma'am? We have that. Thank you. There's been a motion made and a second that the following nominees be elected by acclamation. Doris Sharp for the 1st District, Mark Isom for the 2nd District, and John Austin for the 5th District. All those in favor of the motion signal by saying yes. Yes. All those opposed say no. The motion passes.
Thank you, Larry. We would normally have a report from our auditor, Pugh & Company. However, due to our special agenda this year, there was a copy of the report in your program, so you please refer to that. You should have received those when you registered. This time, Dale Fain, Vice President of the Board, will now recognize the AEC SA contest winner for 2015. Dale?
Good morning. Each year, Appalachian Electric joins other cooperatives across the nation in promoting educational skills among teenagers through the Co-op Essay Contest. 2015 marked the 50th year of the Washington Youth Tour and the 49th year that Appalachian Electric has been a participant, recognizing the brightest and most creative students throughout our service area. These young people enhance their creative skills by researching a topic and then writing a short story about electric co-ops. This year, over 1,000 high school juniors participated in this program. It is my privilege to recognize the winners among our area's high schools. From Granger County High School, Landy Manus, and Matthew Stallings. Representing Morristown West High School, Sarah Spain and Nathaniel Love. And from Jefferson County High School, Aaron Corum and Luke Seifert. In addition to receiving accolades for their academic excellence, these 6 students accepted a trip to Washington, D.C. this past June to experience our nation's capital and to discover the rich history and patriotism of our great country. Video highlights of this opportunity were shown prior to the start of our business meeting today. From among these first-place students, Appalachian Electric Cooperative will be awarding one academic scholarship in the amount of $2,500 for the continued education of this student. In addition, all 6 of our students are in the running for an additional $10,000 scholarship from TECA. Students have excelled in the classroom, among your peers, and certainly in our community. The cooperative wishes each of you continued success in pursuit of your dreams. At this time, I would like to present the AEC Scholarship Award. The winner of the $2,500 AEC Merit Scholarship for 2015 is Mr. Matthew Stallings of Grainger County High School. Congratulations, Matthew. The cooperative would also like to thank Mr. Steve Marion for judging our essays. We'd also like to recognize all of our outstanding teachers who guided our classroom process. On behalf of the Board of Directors, we look forward to celebrating AEC's 50th year participation in the Washington Youth Tour in 2016. Please join me again in thanking all these people for their participation and assistance in the scholarship program.
Thank you, Dale. Now it's time for some prizes. So it's going to take a minute to get everything ready here, but we'll have 8 drawings, $50 each. You must be present to win. So we will have a drawing, and Landy Manus is going to do our drawing for us. So this is credit toward your electric bill. 739-520. 739-520. Do I have anyone? Where are you? Okay, over here. Okay. Bring your house lights up some, please. There you go. Okay, now we can see. Over. Can you go over to the left? Okay. $739-301. Over here. Don't see you, but I hear you. Okay. 739-528. That's better. 739-528. Anyone? Okay. $739-399. 739-399. Over here. $739-122. Turn the basket. $739-122. Got it? You got one? 739122. Over here. Okay.
Section Q.
Section Q.
And we have right here in section S.
Which one? Same number?
No, that's the one prior. Raise your hand. Right there.
Right here was S, one of them, and then the other one's in Q. Oh, raise your hand.
There we go.
Did we get that one?
We're coming to you.
Okay. Seven 39418. Right here, in section R. Two more. Seven 39068. 739068. Over here. Q, section Q. One more for this drawing. 738881. 738881. Shout out. No? Okay, we're drawing over. Oh, wait a minute. Who's got it? Right here. Okay. Okay.
Section S.
This time I'd like to call on Mike Knotts, Director of Governmental Affairs from the Tennessee Electric Cooperative Association, for his comments. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Drennan. Good morning. Well, I bring you greetings from all across this great state. The other 23 electric cooperatives in this state who hold their annual meetings throughout the year send their regards through me today. But I'm here to tell you just a quick story and hope that maybe it has some impact and some meaning for you gathered with us this morning. Just a few weeks ago, I was out of town on a business trip. And my wife called me and said, honey, the brakes on the van are squeaking. What should I do? Pretty normal, everyday sort of event. Told her to go down the street to the local mechanic shop and have them check out the brakes. Well, in the back of my mind, I remembered that we had replaced the brakes on this car not very long ago, maybe a year and a half. And, you know, brakes aren't something that you need to do every day unless you drive the way my wife drives, and then maybe you do have to replace them every 18 months. So she went to the shop. She called me again. She said, honey, the shop has given me a list of things that need to be fixed on the car. And she began reading, and I believe I heard everything, including the flux capacitor that needed to be replaced on this car. And I said, honey, I'm not so sure that's a good thing. She said to me, well, they've already started working on them. I said, tell them to stop. We'll pay for what they've done, but these other things don't necessarily need to be done. To make a very long story short, I had a very spirited conversation with the owner of this business. And after a very long conversation, I wrote a much larger check to this institution than I ever wanted to write. So my question to you is, will I ever do business with this repair shop again? Of course not. Of course not. In the middle of this spirited conversation, I asked the gentleman, I said, I want to see your documents. I want you to prove to me that you are a legitimate business. Do you think he did that? Of course not. He told me to take a hike and get out the door. Well, the point of the story is this. I'm going to read a list of attributes about a business, and I want you to tell me whether you think that those attributes were a part of that mechanic shop. Voluntary and open. Democratic control. Members' participation. Autonomy and independence. Education, training, and information. I don't think I got a lot of good information from that shop. Cooperation. concern for the community. Well, of course those weren't in that business's founding documents, but they are in the founding documents of the Appalachian Electric Cooperative. Those are the 7 cooperative principles, and those are the things that makes a co-op different from every business that you do business with across this great community. Being a member of a co-op is a really wonderful thing, and I hope we don't lose sight of that just because it's been 75 years since this great organization turned the lights on here in East Tennessee. We take these lights for granted, but what we should not take for granted is the wonderful things that this organization does for your community. You just witnessed it in a young man who's going to receive a scholarship to help him go to college. There's numerous other examples. And so I just wanted to share with you today that while we looked at and waited for this meeting to start, there were some pictures and photos and videos that played on these screens. I saw a lot of you watching them. And a lot of those photos were gray, black and white, grainy photos of really great men doing very wonderful things a very long time ago. And we can be very proud of that. And especially on a 75th anniversary, we should celebrate those wonderful images of the past. But this is not an organization that's about the past. It's an organization that's about the future. And so they want to be a positive part of your future and this community's future. And I'm just excited to be a very small part in that. So enjoy yourself today. Thank you for being a part of this important business session. Enjoy your lunch. And again, bring you greetings from all across the state. Thanks.
This time, I'd like to call upon Bill Johnson, President and CEO of the TVA. Bill?
Well, good morning, y'all. Hey, I'll try that again. Good morning, y'all. That's better. Thank you. What a great privilege to be here. What a great day to be in Tennessee. You know, sun's out after a night of rain where we got the land nourished, the river fed, and I believe later today the Vols are going to beat the snot out of the Gators. So, all right. So we have a lot to look forward to. I don't know if you realize this, but about 80 cents of every dollar you send to your co-op eventually ends up in my hands. The reason I tell you that is because I know, and my colleagues at TVA know, that you're actually the people who pay our salaries, pay our costs, and actually you don't just own your own co-op, you're owners of TVA. So when I say it's a privilege to be here this morning, I really mean it's a privilege to be here. So thank you for letting me be part of your day. I've already made some new friends up here. Representative Faison, who told me what a great job he's doing representing you. There you go. And Mr. Collins, who I learned, like my father, was a principal of the high school. And I got the impression from sitting next to Mr. Collins that he ran a pretty tight ship over there. Do I have that about right? A lot of good behavior at the school. So. And of course, I'm here mostly because my good friend, and I think I can call him a good friend, Greg Williams, invited me. So let me brag on your general manager just a moment here. I know you realize this, and I know particularly the board members realize this, but you got a good man in Greg Williams, right? He's a family man, he's a God-fearing man, he's a good businessman, but most of all, he cares about his members. So, Greg, I'm delighted to be able to call you my friend and to come to your annual meeting. Thank you for the opportunity. So this is the 75th anniversary, which if my math was good, and I was never good at math, that's how I became a lawyer. But if my math is right, that means 1940 is the founding date of this cooperative. This is the 75th anniversary. So let's go back to 1940. 1940, TVA had just started building Cherokee Dam. And 2 years later, 1942, started on Douglas Dam, which was built in 382 days. Do you think anybody could do that today? I don't believe we could. Of course, different times, trying to win a world war, and those dams and the power production were important in making sure that the good guys won that war, which is what happened. But today, those dams and those reservoirs are great sources of recreation, tourism, and economic opportunity in this part of the state. But let's go back to 1940, where there wasn't very much tourism, there wasn't much recreation, not much economic opportunity. I had the opportunity to go back and read something that was written at your 70th anniversary, and it was about what was happening here in 1940, called Keeping the Lights On. And here's what the state of play was in 1940. The majority of folks around here still made a living off the land. Life was hard for most farm families, although most of them had never known anything else. They rose in the dark to begin the day by kindling a fire in the wood stove and got ready for bed that night by the fitful light of a kerosene lamp. Anybody remember these days? Some of you do, yeah. From well before sunup to after sundown, their days were characterized by grueling physical labor. Without electricity to make life easier, leisure time was almost non-existent. Just doing what absolutely had to be done took up virtually every minute of the day. These country folk were the people who had the most to gain from receiving electricity, and they would emerge from under the burden of constant and punishing labor that sapped their strength and made them old before their time, to finally obtain a better way of life through the benefits of electricity. So if you think of the history of your co-op for the last 75, that's exactly what it's been doing. It's been bringing you safe, affordable, reliable electricity to help you improve the quality of life here and to make economic opportunities so our kids can stay home and work in the region. It's really a great opportunity to be here. And in recognition of 75 years, not just of your co-op, but of your marriage to TVA, and that's a good way to look at it. You're not my customers, you're my partners. I do have a plaque here that I want to present to President Drennan. About 75 years of partnership and outstanding contribution and service to the people of the Tennessee Valley. Thank you for your commitment to excellence. President Drennan, thank you so much.
Thank you, Bill. We appreciate TVA very much. Now I'd like to call upon Jeremy Faison, State Representative from Tennessee House, District 11, for his presentation. Jeremy?
Good morning. Happy fall, y'all. I came along when electricity was commonplace in most houses. And I remember as a little feller, maybe about the age of this little guy or little lady right here, the first time the power went out. Oh, I was thrilled. I was tickled. We got out candles. We got out the lantern. We sat around at the dinner table and played Uno. It was delightful till the light of a candle. I thought, this is big time. This is fun. I'm loving life. Be honest with you, I kind of secretly wish the power wouldn't come back on. It was just so neat. The family was all together, and it was just a thrilling time for me. As I got older, I started realizing the necessity of the air conditioning when the power went out. How many big fellers in here know what I'm talking about? I got a little bit older and I realized I couldn't charge my cell phone. I can't watch the news. The food in my refrigerator is going to go bad. I got nervous when the power went out after a while. It's still kind of exciting when the power goes out, flickers a little bit, and you think, well, maybe it'll be out for 20, 30 minutes. Won't be too long. We'll enjoy it for a little bit. But in the back of my mind, I have comfort knowing that there's people on the roads and there's people in a room somewhere doing their best to make sure power comes back to my house, because there's so much of my life that is dependent on electricity. And we're thankful. And everybody in here this morning somehow used electricity before you got here. And it impacts our life greatly. And we are so thankful for everything that Appalachian Electric does. Thank you, guys. The greatest state of Tennessee, and the state that's going to win in football today, woo, woo, go Vols. Governor Haslam has issued a proclamation for Appalachian Electric. I would read it to you, but I don't want your eyes to glaze over and go to sleep with all the whereases and therefores and here nows and all that stuff. So, on behalf of the great state of Tennessee, President Drennan, I'd like to present this to you, a proclamation. And I want to read one line that I thought was wonderful in here. Whereas Appalachian Electric Cooperative continues to improve the well-being of its members by providing affordable and reliable electric service to home, farms, schools, business, and industries. That impacts all of us. Thank you. On behalf of the great state of Tennessee, thank you. Go Vols!
Thank you very much, Jeremy. Congressman Duncan is now in the room. He's had a busy morning, so at this time I'd like to recognize and call Congressman Jimmy Duncan from Tennessee's 2nd District for his comments. Congressman Duncan.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Drennan. I just got here because I spoke first at a big Alzheimer's walk in Knoxville, but I am so pleased to be here. Appreciate very much the invitation, and I do. Mr. Drennan whispered to me that he'd already introduced me once, but he'd introduced me again. I don't know that I had to be introduced twice, but I will tell you that I do always appreciate being introduced. Several years ago, I presented a flag to the Rogers Creek Elementary School in McMinn County and to all the children in front of the school. And after I did that, one of the first grade teachers asked me to stop by her class, and she said, "Now, boys and girls, do you remember who this is?" And one little fellow raised his hand in kind of a scared voice. He said, "Are you the man on the nickel?" And so I tried to explain that I was not the man on the nickel. But so I appreciate being introduced. I will tell you one other quick story that several years ago when my son Zane, he's now 29, and when he was, I think, 13 and a half, so you can see it's several years ago, I was getting ready to speak to the First Baptist Church of Alcoa, and just as I was being introduced, he said, "Dad, when you get up to speak, speak for 3 minutes. Do not speak more than 3 minutes." And I whispered back and said, "Why, Zane?" And he said, "Because your speeches are boring." And I told that supper to a Lions covered dish supper in Etowah 3 or 4 years later, and a little Cub Scout named Nick Angel, whose name I'll never forget because of what he said to me, he came up after the program. He said, "Mr. Duncan, your speech was good," and that part surprised me, but then he said, "Your son was right. It was boring, but it was short." So you get a lot of different things said to you when you're in politics. It is an honor and privilege for me to represent people like you in the Congress of the United States. I've lived in East Tennessee all my life. And I've told the young people, I've said when I've gone into other states, people have teased me about my accent and asked me to wear shoes and call us hillbillies and make fun of us. I said now everybody in the whole country just about wants to move down here with us. And so the future for this area is very, very bright. In fact, I think it's as bright as any part of this country. And in part, it's bright because of the work done by the Appalachian Electric Co-op. In fact, I'm one of the customers myself. And I appreciate TVA and always have. I've tried to support TVA every way that I could. I just listened to Mr. Johnson's comments. Mr. Johnson is a fine man, and he's doing, I think, as good a job as anybody could possibly do at TVA. The only thing I'm going to tell him is, Mr. Johnson, you all lower the lake levels too early. So, need to leave them up a little bit longer this year. But anyway, they asked me to put a statement in the congressional record, and I did that. And I'm not going to read that. I will present that to Mr. Williams and Robert Drennan here, Mr. Drennan here in a few minutes. They come every year just about and see me up in Washington, and they twist my arm so hard that I cave under the pressure. But they do visit me, and they do a good job representing you all. I was pleased that several years ago, the Appalachian Regional Commission, they pick out one member of Congress to honor each year, and they gave me the Champion of the Rural America Award that they gave, and I was real proud of that. I spent a lot of my growing up time, most of you probably wouldn't know this, but my dad grew up, my grandparents in Scott County had 10 children, and and an outhouse and not much more. My dad said Papa Duncan probably never made $100 cash money any one month in his life, but my grandparents were good people. My dad hitchhiked into Knoxville with $5 in his pocket to go to UT, and I was real proud of my dad and proud of my family. But I spent a lot of time growing up on that little farm in Scott County. I get a kick out of the fact now that when I go to these, I've been to some of these real fancy restaurants in some of these big cities, and they charge extra money for free-range chicken. Well, I can tell you, we would go to my grandfather's little church in Helenwood, Tennessee, and after church, you know, I'm sure most of you have seen this, my grandmother would get a chicken that was running around the yard and wring its neck, and I think probably some of you have seen that. So anyway, that takes me back a while. But I will tell you that without affordable, reliable electricity, the small towns and rural areas of this country, which are so very, very important, they just about would cease to exist. And so I'm just so pleased at what we have here in East Tennessee. And I was so pleased to honor the Appalachian Regional Electric Co-op because the work is so important. And I've read, and I'll just close with this, you know, there's 7 billion people in this world. I read about 3 or 4 months ago that 58% of the people of this world, which would be roughly 4 billion people, have to get by on $4 or less a day. I tell the young people every chance I have that just think about that all the people their age, that they've probably never been to a mall. They might have 2 sets of clothes if they're lucky. We are blessed beyond belief, beyond our comprehension to live in this country, the greatest country on the face of this earth. And I know that you agree with that, and so it's a real honor for me to be here today and help you celebrate this very important 75th anniversary of this great organization. And I'd like to have Mr. Drennan come forward at this time so I can present to him the official congressional record that honors this anniversary and say thank you for allowing me to come here and be part of this program today. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. I don't know whether it's proper to correct a congressman or not, but I'm going to do it anyway. I go to his office every year, and he's always very generous with his time to allow us to speak to him, but you're not a customer, you're a member. You're just like all the rest of us. We have members, not customers. We're a customer of Bill Johnson's. So, this time we'd like to have our prize drawings, $50 certificate, credit toward your electric bill. There'll be 8 of these again. Please shout out when I call your name. You must be present. 739-475. 739-475. Nope. Do it again. Seven 39371. 739-371. Okay, try again. Seven 38880. Where is it? Who is it? Here I see pointing. 738-880. You have it? Okay. Scott. 738-723. Seven three eight 723. Okay. 739-051. Right here. Seven 229. Over here. Just leave the house lights on, that's fine. Seven 070. Over here. Okay. 739-246. Seven 246. Got it? Seven 951. Raise your hand. Right down here. Section Q. Seven 697. Okay, over here. One more. Seven 837. 738-837. No taker? Okay, one more. Seven 059. 739-059. Okay, go again. Wait. Okay. You got it? Okay. Okay, at this time, I'd like to call on Greg Williams, General Manager and Executive Vice President, to give his report. Greg? Get all these out of the way.
We're losing it. Thank you. Good morning to everybody. You have truly exceeded our expectations this morning. We had 955 registered members of Appalachian Electric Cooperative. Give yourselves a hand. That's the largest registration we've ever had. So thank you for coming out to the 75th annual meeting. I also want to thank our distinguished guests and elected officials for joining us on this special day of recognition and celebration. I greatly appreciate our partnerships, and Bill Johnson mentioned that word, and it truly is a partnership. Our relationships and truly the common values we share in serving you, the members of the cooperative. Now, as grateful as I am to each of our guests for their attendance here today, by far none are more important than you, the members of the cooperative, because you are really the real reason we're here. Without your trust and support, none of us would be commemorating 3/4 of a century as Appalachian Electric Cooperative. Your presence here today means that you recognize the key role you play as member owners of our co-op. You understand that, unlike folks who might get their power from other utilities like investor-owned utilities. You have the power to elect representatives to AEC's board of directors, people you trust to speak for your interest and to set policies that will guide our co-op as you see fit. Now, this self-governing model is just one of the features that sets us apart, but it's very significant. It's a very significant aspect of co-op membership. By being here today and joining with your friends and neighbors and electing a slate of directors to serve for the next 3 years, you continue the legacy of the men and women that came together all those years ago to decide that they would be part of something much bigger than themselves. They became the first members of Appalachian Electric Cooperative, whose sole purpose was to be of service to those that brought it into being. Their vision and bold action meant that electric service would finally reach far into the countryside in this part of East Tennessee, all the way out to where the rural folks who needed it most. Now, all these years later, is it indeed a great honor for me to be standing here today as your general manager. I have a strong sense of being part of a great legacy established by some very talented and hardworking individuals that came before me. Now, during the first few years of AEC's existence, which, by the way, occurred when America was fighting in World War II, leadership changes took place quite often. But since 1946, only 4 other individuals have held this position: Roy Hendricks, Charlie Balch, Kenneth Carpenter, and Bill Underwood. And I believe Bill Underwood is here today, someplace. But I appreciate him being with us. Each man's tenure as general manager included periods of both stability and times of great change. They all faced major challenges, and they also oversaw times of amazing progress. Now, in reflecting on this crossroads in our history, this seemed to me like a good time to think about the significance of following in their footsteps. I recently learned a bit more about the perspectives of these long ago managers by taking a look at their annual messages to the membership. And I thought I would share some of their thoughts with you today. Now, many of the issues they encountered were very different than what we face. For example, with the scarcity of materials that came with the war years, just obtaining adequate supplies and materials with which to build lines was a significant challenge. Yet, after many decades, there are also some startling, relevant similarities. Then, as now, improving the lives of those we serve has always been the guiding force of AEC. And that's evidenced in the annual report from 1946-47 and the message given by Roy Hendricks in his message to the membership. Listen as I share just an excerpt. We like to think there is something more to furnishing people with electricity than just selling them something they must have. Appalachian is serving electricity to the people who own it. And this electricity can be used in our homes, on our farms, and in our business, industrial and recreational establishments in such a way as to build up this area year by year to a better and better way of living. It can create jobs. It can increase farm income. It can do many of the back-breaking jobs that wear people out. And it can furnish entertainment. Appalachian is interested in all of these things. We are extending our lines all over this area as fast as they can be built. We want to feed in electricity to the people of the whole territory and watch them use it to build a better way of living. We want to help them do this whenever we can and however we can, for Appalachian belongs to the people and is their tool for shaping the resources of the whole area. And we will be here to help in any way we can, for we are here for no other reason than to serve the area. Concern for community is another principle of the cooperative business model. And this passage from Roy Hendricks displays that very well. It is a settled policy with your board that the cooperative should be interested in all phases of the development of this area, and that it must encourage real progress of all kinds. In our line building program, as well as in all the other phases of our operations, we look upon all the area we serve and all the people who live in it as just one big community. In the work of serving our members, we cross community and county lines, but in our thinking, we like to picture the area as just one big community. That's because we serve it that way, impartially and with equal consideration given to all parts of it. We are convinced that the most rapid progress can be made in developing the resources of the area if all of us work together on this big job. That big job is still ongoing today, 75 years later. We are dedicated to doing everything we can to power progress throughout our area, supporting economic development and bringing good jobs to our community by providing reliable electricity at competitive rates. We believe in investing in our youth and member education, helping the next generation of consumers gain the knowledge that will help them better manage their energy budgets. And as always, we try to meet our members where they are, seeking to provide them with service options that make sense for them, outreach tools that are based on technologies that are part of their lives, programs that empower them to take charge of their energy use, and information that impacts their lives for the better. Now, I am extremely excited to be able to announce to you today, and you are the first to know this, that your cooperative was recently awarded one of only 2 grants conferred throughout the entire Tennessee Valley to help build a 1.3 megawatt community solar facility. In the coming months, you'll hear more about how you, as a member of the co-op, can subscribe to our community solar program and receive a monthly energy credit from your participation in this project, which is made possible by a partnership with TVA. So thank you, Bill. Environmentally sustainable energy sources like solar are becoming a growing part of TVA's generation portfolio, and we are very proud to be able to bring this option to you, the members of Appalachian Electric. Another recent example of the kind of value we continually strive to bring to our members is the savings offered through your new Co-op Connections card, which was attached to the Tennessee magazine that you received earlier this month in September. Completely free of charge, it currently provides discounts on prescription drugs, vision, and dental services. And we're reaching out now to vendors and businesses in our service area to be able to feature even more locations where the card is honored. A number of the co-ops across the Tennessee Valley or across Tennessee use this card, and they have saved thousands and thousands of dollars for their members. So we're very glad that we can bring this to our members also. So keep watching our website and you'll get an updated list of the participating vendors and businesses. Now, in the middle of your program, and Robert mentioned this earlier, there is kind of an excerpt of the auditor's report, the financial report. Let me just highlight a few things. We had a very good fiscal year with a strong financial performance. We retired over $3 million in debt, increased our equity to 57%. And for the first time since 2008, when we had the economic downturn, we added over 300 new electric accounts this past fiscal year. That is great news for this area. So, very good news. And just since July the 1st, in the first quarter of this fiscal year, we've already added almost another 100 So this is good news. I'm hoping that that's a sign that things are turning around in our service area. We recently launched our new construction work plan, which details over $47 million in capital improvements and growth over the next 5 to 6 years. If you live up in the Bean Station area, you've seen a part of that where we've just recently rebuilt a section of our transmission line in that particular area. Now, recently announced in the news, you probably heard about a TVA wholesale rate adjustment effective October the 1st, which is going to impact bills about 1.5%. However, the good news is your co-op did not add anything to that. Okay? We have held our cost and our rates to you as a member for 3 years, and we're continuing to try to do that through just as good a management as we can. So we have not had a rate increase for your co-op since April of 2013. With our continued strong financial position, I'm happy to be able to say that we probably won't need another one until October of next year. That's 3.5 years. In closing, I'd like to say that as proud as I am to be your co-op's general manager, I am equally proud to be an AEC member. I'm proud of the special connection we have, a shared understanding of what we've been through to get to where we are, a sense of strength that comes from overcoming challenges, and an abiding vision of how much we can accomplish when we work together for the good of our community of members. Now, hopefully when you came in today, you got a copy of the commemorative publication that we put together just for this event, a 75th publication. If you didn't get a copy, there'll be some folks at the door. I really want all of our members to leave with a copy of this. As you look through it, I hope you'll enjoy learning more about the story of your cooperative. It's about people. It's about the people that made this cooperative. Some of those folks work here at AEC, and you've got to meet them today. They're wearing the green shirts all over the place. I am indeed privileged to work alongside the very best employees. You can also learn more about some very special members in the publication we spoke with, individuals who can remember what life was like here before the family farms they grew up on were served by co-op power. They remember what it was like when the lights came on. Their stories are a part of our legacy, and we're so very proud to be able to share them with you. AEC's longstanding relationship with its member owners is a part of the history of this very special place we are blessed to call home. As I look around this morning at the friends and neighbors that have gathered here, this 75th annual membership meeting feels very much like a homecoming. In that spirit, I want to thank you for coming home to your co-op to help us celebrate this occasion. And just like when families get together, we're going to be doing some good eating today, so please stay to join us for lunch. And I hope you'll take a moment before you leave to say thank you to our employees, to the board members, to the Washington Youth Tour students, to the members who serve on our committees. Give them a word of thanks. And thank you so much for being here, but mostly, happy 75th birthday, Appalachian Electric Cooperative. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. I hope you can see why we have a manager that shows leadership. We also have a great bunch of employees, and I'd like to say thank you to each of them. Okay. One more comment. 739-246, we never did locate that number. So we have one more. Unless that person is here and identifies himself, we'll have one extra drawing, right? I'd like to also extend my personal thanks to the Washington Youth Trip participants for their assistance this morning at our annual meeting. They're all dressed in teal T-shirts. So this time we're going to have our last drawing. There will be now 9 $50 credits toward your electric bill and 1 $500 grand prize. The $500 grand prize needs to come down so we can make a photograph. After the drawing, we will conclude our business and there will be a hot barbecue lunch. Ask that you exit the same doors you came in, and there will be AEC employees to show you where to go from there. So now we will have our drawing. 739-389. 739-389. Okay, we'll try again. 738-764. 738-764. T, section T. 738-928. Down here, section R. 739-470. 739-470. Okay. 738-977. 738-977. Where are you? Okay. 739-374. Down here, section T. 738-908. 738-908. Over on this side somewhere. Okay. They'll be there. 739-750. 739-750. Over here? Do we have it over here? Okay. No. That's 6. Scott can't count. 739-338. 739-338. Okay, we'll try again. 739-346. Over here. That's 7. This is 8. 738-955. Up here. One more, and then we'll draw for grand prize. 739-725. 739-725. Okay, we'll try again. This is for a $50 credit. 739-347. Over here. Now, we're going to draw for the grand prize, which is a $500 credit to your electric bill.
Let's make sure we get everybody raising their.
The last one, 347 was over here.
Okay.
Are you ready? 739-611. We have a winner. We need you to come down front. This concludes our business. We're now adjourned. Welcome to lunch.